current situation, a situational factor. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market, which caused the response from executive, which translate in our ranking. And for your information, Malaysia remained ahead of other countries in Asia Pacific, such as Thailand, which was ranked 29, Indonesia 40th, and Philippines 45th. Within the ASEAN, Malaysia retained its position as the #2 most competitive country after Singapore. And among the top 30 most competitive worldwide economies around the world, such as Hong Kong, Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, Canada, USA, China, Ireland, and Finland. And I think we also maintain our competitiveness lead against major economies such as France, which was positioned at 32nd, and Japan 34th, and India 43rd. So among the 29 countries with populations exceeding 20 million, we was ranked 10. So this webinar will discuss, and the objective of this webinar is to discuss on the way forward, how to improve the business efficiency factors post-COVID-19, an initiative to improve industries view in terms of the current policies, or what are the policies that they think which will leapfrog our performance to be more competitive. And I think our panelists will definitely discuss. I think there's a lot of historical data that shows that we was one of the top countries before, and the challenge for us is how we can sustain our position, our competitiveness. And the objective of the session also to discuss the different approaches, tools, and institutional arrangements needed for Malaysia in developing and evaluating current policies, regulations, and institutions that impacted business efficiency. So this will be discussed in great length by our very learned panelists. And the third objective of the session is to discuss the challenges in improving business efficiency in Malaysia and how best to change the behavior of industries in adopting best practices and technologies. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call our first panelist, which is a very good friend of mine, Mr. Kabir Ahmad Muhammad Jamil. Just to give a little background of Mr. Kabir, is the honorary certified Asian Productivity Organization Productivity Practitioner. He is a professional trainer and freelance consultant based in Malaysia, a qualified Six Sigma Black Belt and a well-known Lean Guru in Asia. He has a Master's Science degree in Industrial and Manufacturing System Engineering from Ohio University, USA, and also graduated with Agriculture Engineering and Agriculture Engineering from University Putra, Malaysia in 1983. He was formerly the director at Malaysia Productivity Corporation. He's a well-known speaker locally and internationally, and I think with his extensive experience in the field of training and consultancy in the area of process improvement, lean manufacturing, team excellence and performance and productivity management in the public and private sector, I think his valuable experience will speak for itself in terms of giving us a better understanding on what business efficiency is all about and how can we moving forward for the to push our competitiveness against the economies of the world. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite the first panelist, Mr. Kabir Ahmad, to share his view and also present to us his thoughts on this subject. Mr. Kabir, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, Datuk Mus, thank you so much for your elaborate introduction about me. And of course, I would like to thank the MPC management actually for allowing for the invitation, of course, for this webinar. And I'm going to share with you, I'm not going to say that I'm going to teach you anything, but I'm going more about sharing. So, of course, I would like to thank also the audience. Without you, this is not going to be a webinar discussion. So our focus very much going to be on the discussion, not rather than the presentation of the material to share with you, but it's more of discussion. So I prefer a question from the audience that maybe we can discuss. I may not have an answer, but my colleague, even Cik Muzaffar, maybe have an answer also. And of course, maybe some of us here are more well-versed about the subject matter. My intention today, I'm going to focus very much on the presentation at the national level rather than at the company level, because since we are talking about the competitiveness of WCY ranking reports and so on, my focus of idea and suggestion very much going to be on related to the level of a national rather than at the company level. But of course, both are interlinked to each other. We will touch a little bit on the company level. All right. So once again, thank you, Dato', Tuan-Tuan, dan juga all the audience out there. Thank you so much once again for being here. Okay, next. All right, when we talk about competitiveness, in this definition that I pick it up from the Director Stefani of the IMD World Competitiveness Center, the definition that he gave here related very much to about the ability of the nations. If you can see that when we talk about competitiveness, we heard about the word competitiveness many times, and many of us keep on mentioning about competitiveness, and so on. But what is it actually? The one that we are looking for is actually at this level of ranking that given by WEF, by WCY, and Ease of Doing Business, and many other competitiveness ranking that outside there. It's actually about how well a nation create and maintain the environment. Again, I said maintain an environment. I think Cik Mus mentioned about sustain more value creation. I mean, if you are established organization here in Malaysia, how well is that organization going to survive? How well that organization going to produce result and work, bring profitability to the company? This is the job of the nation, to create that environment for the company to prosper. And of course, I'm not going to run away from the people prosperity too. So this is the definition that given by the well-known director of IMD regarding competitiveness. So I think with that in mind, we understand that this is also very much in line if you're talking about GRP, the good regulatory practice, the one that we are actually promoting in Malaysia since 2010, is actually about creating environment. So all these are interlinked to each other, creating environment of businesses in Malaysia. So basically, this is again, I would say similarity. There's very much similarity of definition of competitiveness, and also the one that we are talking about GRP purpose. Next. I have only 15 minutes, but so I'm going to run a bit faster here. So the focus of today's discussion is very much to do with the business efficiency. And under the business efficiency, we have many sub-factors like productivity and efficiency. We have the finance, we have the management practices and blah, blah, and so on. I'm not going to focus that in detail because later, maybe when in the future, probably we will analyze one by one. But again, at the belows there, and the purpose of business efficiency is actually looking at the ability of the company to do business and make profit in Malaysia. So when we talk about business efficiency, we talk about company being survive and make money. Next. Next, please. Yes. Okay. As mentioned by Cik Mus earlier, our ranks is at the moment 27. We dropped again with 5 rank to 27 from 22. We look at around and the number of country in the world, like Singapore still number 1. We can see a very drastic rise to Denmark to number 2. Of course, Hong Kong and so on still are there, and New Zealand is up there already now. So these are the nations that if you want to benchmark, that we're going to learn from them. So maybe I will share a little bit some insight into what these countries do a little bit, and maybe we can see how can we raise our playing grounds here in Malaysia. So we still lingering at 20 something from 22, 27, but as most say that we are there before. We are on the top 10 before. Let's go. Thanks. Okay, if you look at in detail the ranking of business efficiency, almost all drop in terms of rank. I mean, if in the aspect of business efficiency, we are not doing well at all. We drop the rank. And of course, if you look at others also on the government, you look at the infrastructure also, we drop, except for the economic performance, we are there. We are not much change in terms of economic. Next. All right. This is again why I'm trying to bring back. You know, I would like to look at the backward rather than look forward at the moment. The rank that was given to us at the moment here, if you look at it now, overall performance from 2016 to 2020. If you look at the trend of the business efficiency, from number 14 now we dropped down to 19, 17, 18. Now in 2020 we are 29 at the business efficiency alone. If you look at the one in 2010, our rank is at number 4 in the world. So we are there already. We are among the top country in the world in terms of business efficiency. When we were ranked 2010, I think we ranked number 10. And we are dropping year by year since then. And why? The issue is why here. Next. Okay, if you look at 2010 ranking, when we had performed marvelous, I mean, in terms of, for the first time in ever that we participate, that government efficiency and the business efficiency are ranked top 10 in the world. These two show that there is so much link between the two of input factor here, which is actually the business efficiency and the public and the so-called government efficiency here. And without like it or not, we can see that now, like program at that time in 2010, organization, the initiative like government transformation program does take an effect to show that Malaysia has rise on the rank. So let's go back again. This is what I'm saying, that we are there before, but now let's go forward again. Next. All right. Any initiative to do on a strategy, we need plannings. Whether we like it or not, in Malaysia, whether we are executing a right strategy initiative, there's another question that we need to see and look at ourselves from now on. Next, let's look on at Singapore. In Singapore, this year, if you look at the tuition in Singapore, they are not good also. Their growth rate is very low this year, 0.7%. But if you look at the education system, which is taking longer before, they plan it to do it before, the employee training, the quality of the employee training down there, the digital infrastructure that they created from Singapore are one of the top in the world. So the planning that they do for Singapore is much earlier. Political stability is also one of the contributing factors, whether we like it or not. The corruption, the governance factors is also influenced the decision putting Singapore, and for the 2 consecutive years, they are #1. So this is, again, I would say that Singapore are doing it well because they plan it before. Next. I just want to show another example in Denmark. I'm just picking up one of their initiatives that they do, that famous in Europe. They have undertake the energy efficiency program since in 2006. I was there in Denmark and spending my time in 80-something. I can see at that time, we never heard about white pine, but actually when we look at it, oh man, these people are actually using rubber tree, and they call it white pine. At that time in 1980-something, we never heard about using rubber tree as our furniture, but they are producing furniture that nobody business in Denmark at that time. So they know they are using a lot of energy. So from then onward, they already decided that, look, they have to look on the alternative of energy consumption. They want to reduce the heating. They want to reduce the carbon factors in the environment. So they decide on the alternative energy. So not really about talking about, raising the tariff for the people to reduce the consumption and so on, but they are looking at the alternative together with the industry, plus with the government, municipality and so on, coming up with one program that are very successful today. So this is, again, I said, what make Denmark become a very attractive to investor, and people want to invest there because of the energy alternative that they have down there. Next. Next, please. All right. So coming back to Malaysia, if you look at Malaysia, we are not that bad. Some of other rank agency, putting us as one of the best. If you look at their report, we are #1 here, we are #1 and #2 here. If you look at as a best country to invest in business in 2019 by the CEO World, we are there. But if you look at the infrastructure, we are #5 in the Asia Pacific here. So we are not up there yet in terms of infrastructure, digital, and so on. But we are not bad. So if all this ranking giving us, a rank that is of doing business, putting us up there too among the ASEAN country and so on. So we are, in a way, I would say that not that bad as indicated by business efficiency ranking at the WCI. Nevertheless, what is going on? What is wrong about it? Next. The way forward is on the, let's look on the government. And I say that if you want to, for Malaysia, whether we like it or not, when we talk about business efficiency, we cannot just avoid business efficiency and talk about it alone, because both are interlinked. Business efficiency and the government efficiency are linked to each other. Without the link between them, no way, man, no way that business can survive. So in the way I want to say that, don't point a finger to anybody, I mean to the government, or government point a finger to the business, because both of you actually linked to each other. If one of them not doing well, the others also not doing well. Look back at 2010, if both of them are doing well. In 2010, we start Pemuda. 2007, we work on it together. And the Pemuda initiative at that time was a very, very, I would say in 2014, we are doing very well with the industry. And yeah, and you can see the score that we are raised to number 14, number 12, and at least we are there, below 20. So with the initiative, collaboration between the government and business, something is crucial. Next. I'm running out of time because looks on the efficiency. If you look at the government business efficiency, what are we talking about business efficiency? Definitely we're just talking about the productivity, we're talking about the cost, the security, the availability of the product that they want to sell and so on. All this, no way become a reality unless we fulfill this. Next. I'm going to, one by one, I'm going to go into it, is that in the way forward that we want to make sure that business efficiency in Malaysia rise again, we need to promote back again the good regulatory practice in Malaysia. We already do this, and believe me, the good YEARBOOK initiative in Malaysia is there on the track. But in terms of buy-in on the private sector, we need to get more people to join in. In terms of creating the conducive environment in Malaysia, because if you look at in UK or in Canada, the initiative of like reducing red tape, they call it RT, red tape challenge in Canada and in England, they get the participation from the industry to voice out, raise up, bring out the issue to the public sectors, and from there they will try to remove or reduce the burden regulation that they have in order to fulfill the what do you call it, the need to make the environment for the business is well accepted. Next. Another one that I would suggest that we should be moving into is that strengthen, the synergy between, it's already there, but now strengthen the synergy between the publics and the private sectors. We already have Pemuda, we have already Nexus, but now we need to find way, maybe Pemuda, we need to look into it. How can we actually strengthen further to make sure that Pemuda have become more powerful, or become some tools that are really, really, really going to help the industry, like what we did before in 2010 until 2014. Our acceptance by the industry are well, because the survey that we are actually done by the WCY is there are two ways of doing it. One from the hard data, we have no problem with the hard data, but the perception of the industry, the survey respondent, this is where the problem is. So the more we engage with the public, with the private sector, the more the good feeling will be there. So I would say we need to engage more public and the private sector. Next. Another thing is that we talk about digitalization today, cloud system, OIT system, and so on. This is again IoTs and so on. This is crucial. Industry 4.0 is no way back. I mean, if we don't grab it, the industry, the business have to grab this. The government now providing the platform, the incentive to help the industry in Malaysia move toward Industry 4.0. If you don't grab this, you're going to be something that we wouldn't going to regret in the future, because this no doubt will improve efficiency. I've seen this happen in German. I've seen this happen in not many people in the factory anymore. It's done by the machine, but people are more toward doing the improvement initiative within the company. So let's move into the Industry 4.0 later on. Let's talk about it. Next. Again, promoting, I said, providing superior delivery. This is no issue, Because when we talk about providing the services, this go back to the private sector too. If you go to the hospital, if you go in the private hospital, you do not want to wait. You do not want to wait for a service. You know, many private hospitals nowadays, you have to wait for it. Even though you already have an appointment, you got to wait for 1 hour for that. So anybody who like that? Nobody. Nobody like that. And I saw that this in Taiwan. You can see Taiwan rise it very well. In Taiwan, they have big hospital, the biggest hospital, 30,000 people on daily basis. Nobody wait for this for the medicine more than 10 to 15 minutes. Nobody wait for more than 10 to 15 minutes. How can it do that with a so big number? And when we go to the MPC, we go and visit them, we can see that they apply the management system, they apply lean principle inside there, and they resolve the issue through the moment you go out from the doctor office, somebody prepare your medicine down there in the pharmacy already. So this is what I would say that will make the efficiency as the agenda for the business. Next. The culture of high performance is there. It's something that we need to relive again. No, because nowadays Malaysia depend very much on the I would say we depend on foreign workers. To develop a culture is going to be a bit difficult. That's why the government initiative today is that, you know, I think COVID-19 issue is good. At least government have tried to stop the utilization of the foreign workers in Malaysia and so on. But this is the time that we can develop a culture of high performance culture in Malaysia using our own people. I think this is one direction that we need to seriously think about it. And we can share that how that in German, company in German do it on the Tibet training program. I was there and I can see that the initiative that they undertake are fantastic. This is a collaboration between university and, you know, with the industry. Next. All right. Finally, is we are talking about driving innovative product itself. We cannot no longer rely very much on the old product. I mean, today world is about driving new product coming into the picture, and we something that this is where the businesses have to do it themselves. We see the research, the R&D initiative that done in university, and of course in the government funded agency. We have to link back with the industry. Just not about primary research. We need to link with the commercial purposes. So I think this is again a collaboration between the industry and the public sectors need to be done. Next. I think basically that's about all that I want to talk. I'm sorry I take a bit more time to read than most. So I hope that will create some kind of hunger to know more about this issue. Thank you, Cik Mus.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kabir. I think Mr. Kabir already put us in the right setting for this webinar. And I like the way he positioned, highlight the importance of digitalization. And we see that companies struggle during the MCO to quickly leverage on digital tools and technologies to adapt to the new normal of doing business. So I think with that, I would like to invite our second panelist, IR Haji Riwayat bin Mansur, who is the Managing Director of Andal Group of Companies. He graduated with Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Boston University, United States of America. And he obtained his Master in Business Administration. With that, he also a registered professional engineer with Board of Engineers Malaysia and corporate members of Institution of Engineers Malaysia, IEM. IR Haji Riwayat has a vast experience in serving reputable multinational corporations locally and abroad for almost 30 years. including in senior leadership positions of increasing responsibilities such as vice presidents and general manager. His expertise in the area of business and general management is very conversant with Lean Six Sigma, business process re-engineering, strategic planning and management, performance management, and various management concepts and techniques. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call Ayar Haji Riwayat to give his view and thoughts of this topic. And then the floor is yours, Haji Ayar Riwayat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Encik Mus. Thank you also MPC for the opportunity rendered to me to participate in this webinar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Good morning to all participants, or rather the viewers and also the attendees of this webinar program. Earlier, our other panelist, Mr. Kabir, has given great information, great insight about the competitiveness, the positions, and all of that. Has been a good lead-in for me to move on with my sharing afterward. So I'm going to continue from there, and my sharing is more focused on the industry, more for the industry, like it was mentioned by Encik Mus earlier. Mainly my background is in the industry for 30 years, so I'm going to speak a bit more about that. And the focus area also, if we can move to the next slide, please. I'll be looking more on the weaknesses of the business efficiency. What I'm going to share what can be done, how do we go about improving these factors, especially in the area of labor productivity, utilizing the technology. Okay, as you can see on the right, the sub-factor ranking in the area of productivity, both overall productivity and also the labor productivity is not very encouraging. So I'll be focusing more on this. Yeah, next slide, please. Before I go on further, let's probably take stock, or rather get the definition of the competitiveness, efficiency, and productivity. Cik Kabir has mentioned about competitiveness, the way that it was defined by IMD, World Competitiveness. So I'm just going to touch base on that one very quickly. Ability of a nation to create and maintain an environment that sustains more value creation for its enterprises and more prosperity for its people. Yeah. So moving into business efficiency, still IMD World Competitiveness Center definition. Business efficiency is the extent to which the national environment encourages enterprises to perform in an innovative, profitable, and responsible manner. Okay. Having that in mind, we move on into productivity. Productivity, as we all know, I'm just going to put it here, this is based on the OECD definition, a ratio between output volume and the volume of inputs. So a ratio between them. The numerator and denominator, it measures how efficiently production inputs such as labor, capital are being used in the economy to produce a given level of output. Okay, so like Encik Kabir mentioned earlier, productivity, efficiency, and competitiveness, they are all linked together. So to put that in one sentence, better productivity means increased in efficiency, which results in higher level of competitiveness. So I'm going to touch more on productivity and the utilization of technology on how to improve the efficiency and also at the same time move our competitiveness level to a higher level. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this slide is what I did. I copied this from the the WCY 2020 report, and these challenges actually that was published in WCY 2020 was actually provided by MPC. the one that I have the font in blue are the one that I'll be talking a bit more during my presentation. So they are, to start with, minimizing the impact of COVID-19 on how to mitigate them to the economic, social, and also environment with some policies. And the other one that I'm going to talk about is strengthening productivity and competitiveness through change of mindset and creativity. I'll cover a bit on that one afterward, more on the mindset, more on the innovativeness, creativity, and finally talking about what Encik Kabir has also mentioned. This is close to our heart, close to the government's heart, close to the industry. Even though there are challenges for the industry to adopt the fourth industrial revolution technologies, so especially on the SME, I'll cover what are the issues with SME and all that. So these are the three that I'll be talking about. Okay, next. Okay, to mitigate, to reduce, if we can eliminate the impact of COVID-19 for the industry, it got to start with the change of mindset. We need, well, some people call, we need to shift our paradigm. We need to think differently. But what is more concerning is we cannot be just waiting. We cannot procrastinate and wait and see what's going to happen next. So we must act now. As time goes by, the pressure will be mounting. Yeah. So what do we need to do actually? We need to understand the levers. That which are the levers or what are the levers that we need to correctly pull. We don't want to pull the wrong levers which don't give us any benefit, but we need to understand what are the levers. Yeah, there are so many levers that affect the business or the organization. To identify the correct one and prioritize is very critical. The other thing is on the supply chain efficiency. We can see during COVID a lot of disruption in the area of supply chain. As a consumer or as a person in the household, we can also receive this impact or feel this impact as far as the supply chain efficiency is concerned. It's huge disruption on supply chain. So the next one, it was mentioned earlier also by our panelists on the lean behavior. What is lean? Lean is basically how do you go about eliminating waste in the organization? How do you create more value? All the processes or in any business, you have processes, yeah, that for the value creation. And how do you make sure that you can eliminate these waste, reduce them, and eliminate them? How do you identify them? There are two portions to that. One is identify, and then after that, after you understand what those are, and then how do you eliminate them? You need to embed in your organization lean. Yeah, you need to have lean behavior. You need to inculcate or instill this lean culture in your organization. Foster an open, creative work environment. This is very important. Whatever I'm mentioning here, it's not like you have to do it during COVID or post-COVID, but these are as important without any crisis or pandemic or any anything that is affecting your business. You need to do this proactively. But more so, this is true for you to implement when you have a crisis like this. Yeah, motivate your own team. I'm not going to go into this too much. I'm not going into the motivation and all that. I'll cover a bit more on technology and all that afterward. Encourage diversity in your organization. Provide proper tools. Okay, tools, techniques, methodology. It can come in the form of process change. It can come in the form of technology. Then you got to provide proper tools to your people. Yeah, of course, create innovative teams and tolerate failure. Mistake is okay as long as you don't. Of course, you cannot make mistakes all the time. But mistakes, to me, mistakes are okay as long as they are not blunders. Blunders cannot be accepted. But mistakes are okay. Next slide, please. So this one, I copied from PwC article on how, you know, what are the actions? What are the actions that we can prepare, respond in order for us to emerge stronger in business? Okay, I mentioned here review workforce arrangement and travel. That's one of them. It may not be necessary to have a full force of your employee back to work after the MCO is eased or lifted, but there are certain resources that you still need, but you need to review that. Okay, travel, how in business, I think travel cannot be avoided, but how do you make sure that you can have selective travel? How do you make sure that, you know, the travel is only for in need basis, yeah, critical basis. Then number two, talking about revisit your business continuity plan. In short, is BCP. I'm sure big organizations, MNCs and all that, they may call it in different name like BCP or DRRP. DRP stands for disaster response and recovery plan. Any name, but this is basically you need to have a plan beforehand. In the case of any calamity, in the case of any disaster, in the case of any crisis, you have the plan ready. You're not going to scramble and start to think on how do you go about to make sure that your business can continue. You need to revisit this. You need to make sure that you work on this. Business continuity plan is very critical in any organization, big or small. Yeah, more so for the MNCs and all that. Supply chain, I mentioned earlier. Supply chain, you know, the huge disruption of the supply chain. So you need to have a clear understanding of your supply chain. And this will help you to expose any potential vulnerabilities in the supply chain itself. And so what you need to do is identify key product and services. If you have products, if you are in the service industry, then you've got to identify the what do you call the services, and looking well beyond the first or second tier suppliers or even the third parties. Yeah. So taking action, taking appropriate action is very critical to make sure that you have a constant or rather a smooth flow of your supply chain. Next, get communication correct. It got to be right. You need to make sure that there are many avenues of communication today. You need to make sure that, you know, the communication, to make sure that the disinformation, the confusion and all that can be taken away. Okay. Number 5 is the use scenario analysis. If you come from a big organization, some people call it what if scenario. What if something happened and what will you do next? So this tie back to your business continuity plan, but this is more on day-to-day operational basis. So you need to look at the scenario analysis as well. Okay, of course, don't just focus on one risk, but all the other risks may be staring at you and, you know, waiting to bite you anytime. So don't lose sight of other risks as well. Next slide, please. Okay, technology, close to my heart. Being a person in the industry and working very closely on the technology and all that. So here, I've listed here what are the things that you can do in order to utilize the technology to improve your business. I'm going to run through very quickly on this one because maybe during the question and answer session, if the participant have the question on this one, I'll try to elaborate more. Okay, so develop long-term technology plan. You need to do that. Yeah. Then you've got to adopt appropriate technology that works for your organization. When I put Industry 4.0 here, it doesn't have to be a full-blown 4.0. You don't need to have the 3D printing. You didn't need to, you know, have all the robotic stuff and all that. But moving towards that is good enough. At least you need to prepare your organization to embark onto Industry 4.0, because this will definitely increase the efficiency of your business. I mentioned here, use automation. If you cannot use automation, at least mechanize, rather than, you know, keep on having your employee to do all the mundane work and make them bored and stuff like that. Communication method, we spoke about that earlier. Of course, customer service using social media. There are a lot of things. I think that has been mushrooming now, blooming, and so I need not speak a lot about that. But in some industries, they are still a bit behind, especially in the SME, when it comes to using social media in the customer service. But hopefully that will be a thing in the past, yeah, for all the businesses. Productivity need to be tracked on regular basis, need to be monitored, need to be reviewed, need to take action on if you regress, and what do you need to do, yeah. So things like that. If you move up at a higher level, how do you shift up your goalposts to make sure that, you know, you don't stay stagnant? You need to keep on improving. I mentioned about the workplace, friendly workplace, and using softwares, and so the other thing is avoid bureaucracy in the organization. Okay, next slide, please. So how can technology assist organization? Of course, everyone knows this. Just want to list this down. Increase productivity, improve flexibility. What do I mean by flexibility? What I mean is you can make if you are in manufacturing, you can make your production line more flexible by using different technology. You can, even in the services, with the technology, you can have a few core businesses, and using this technology, of course, customer service, marketing, to keep business safe. Technology can keep your business safe. If previously you use all the papers and, you know, the old ways of doing things, and, you know, but now you can put that, you can digitalize them, and you can encrypt, you can keep them safe. Of course, technology can give effective communication. Just on this one, when we talk about communication, ICT actually is how would I put it? It's the most applied or utilized technology, ICT, in any organization, be it government or public sector, private sector. ICT is the most, information and communication technology that is being used the most. It doesn't have to be a mechanization, automation, and stuff like that. Streamline and customize workflow, enhancement and collaboration. You can make use of this. You can see how many apps that has been mushrooming today as far as to enhance the collaboration is concerned. Yeah, automation, and of course better employee engagement. Yeah, next slide, please. Before I go into this, talking about the technology adoption, talking about the technology adoption, Industry 4.0 or things like that. If you're talking about big organization, MNCs, corporate type structure, I think they are more prepared to adopt the technology. But let's talk about the SME. SME is a bit behind. I'm not going to offend any of my friends in SME. I'm also doing SME myself, and I may be talking about myself and some of my friends, not all. Yeah, but SME, let's take a look at SME. SME, basically, the SME is a vital component in the economic development in many countries, in all the countries probably, and bring benefit to the country, to provide employment, increase income, to foster economic growth. And if you look at the SME Corp website also, you can see that 98% of the organization, of the establishment of the organization in Malaysia are SMEs. And these SMEs provide about 65–68% of the employment. And and also contribute almost 40%, to be exact, probably about 37%, yeah, to the GDP, yeah. So despite this big contribution, this important contribution, SMEs have many shortcomings, yeah. It can be in the term of the structure, the management, organization, lack of risk management. I mean, all these things, yeah. And so the 6 challenges that faced by the SME, a report has been done on this one. A paper has been done. SME is, you know, the human capital development. That's one area. Access to financing, market access, infrastructure, innovation, and technology adoption. Okay, so this is one of the challenges, and of course talking about regulatory environment and all that. But how do we go about to successfully adopt technology, be it in the big organization or small? You know, both. This is true for both. Okay. First, the first step is establish the strategy and align with the technology. You know what is technology out there, and you know you need to have your own strategy for your organization, and you got to align the both. You got to align the strategy and also the technology that's available. Yeah, and then you got to engage with all the stakeholders. It can be your customer, it can be your board members, it can be your employees, it can be your management. You know, I mention customer? That's a biggie. Yeah, you need to engage these stakeholders in order to position what technology you want to use in order for your organization to move forward and become more efficient and more competitive. Yeah, you need to integrate technology deployment with change management. If you are employing a new technology and this is something new to you, and you need to change your organization to make sure that this technology can be implemented in your organization, you need to combine and integrate that technology deployment, technology change, technology improvement with change management. Yeah, you can use the EDCA model for change management, but you need to combine the both. Yeah, and then next, create an effective governance structure, of course. Yeah, having all this all done, and then you need to make sure that you have the governance structure that's effective to make sure that all this implementation can be done correctly and can be monitored, which is point number 5, monitor and correct. It doesn't mean that you put the technology there, it's going to work for you, you know, it's going to be, everything is going to be fine and dandy, it's going to be sunshine all day. No, so you got to monitor, check, and review and correct as you go along. Okay, next slide, please. This is going to be the next slide for me before I pass the floor back to the moderator. I took this from the MPC website. MPC also, you know, have worked very diligently as well, as far as to ensure that the industries, the businesses can adopt the Industry Revolution 4.0. Encik Kabir mentioned a lot about this earlier. Yeah. So on the right, if you want to read it, is from the first industrial revolution to the 4th industrial revolution. But what I want to bring your attention is more on the left. Yeah. You need to make sure that you assess the use of technology. Like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be lock, stock, and barrel. What do you call? Implementation of Industry 4.0, because Industry 4.0 is big. You got to be selective on what you know, what is best technology, which is point number 2 and number 3, the best technology solution for you, and make sure that that is the right technology for you, and use the technology where it helps the most. It doesn't have to be, you know, I need to have these technologies because it's a show off. No, it's not that. You need to make sure that you've got to have the right technology where it helps you with your pain point. Yeah. Take the advantage of free application. There's so many free applications. You don't have to, you know, buy many of them. They are free out there. You can choose and try out. You can pilot them first. Make use of the free application or apps and stuff like that. Yeah. And whatever you have, maybe you want to enhance on that. So the development methodology, this one I copied from MPC, I mentioned earlier, on the study, develop, consult, pilot, and execute. You know, you can do this, and they are people out there, they are experts, their expertise out there that can assist you, you meaning the organization, the businesses or the industry, on how to go about implementing this. One that I can mention is MIDEC and also MTDC. They are very focused on this now as we speak. So that's all I have, Mr. Moderator. I pass the floor back to you. I hope this will give some lead in to the our discussion later on, like what Encik Kabir said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Raji Riwaya. I think Raji Riwaya already defined the importance of the technology and the market challenges faced by the businesses in terms of the workforce agility, and also the importance of having the right technology in the business can really transform or provide the avenue for businesses to address or mitigate the challenges faced today. So I think we have very good input by both of the panelists, and I'm sure we can go into the depth of the discussion. The first item that I would like to get views from the panelists is how can policymakers and regulators respond to industry needs in order to ensure business efficiency. So I would like to call Cik Kabir to give his thought on this, and after that, IR Haji Rewat can continue from Cik Kabir's discussion.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Tuan Muzaffar, on the question. Well, is the question at the heart of the discussion here is about the collaboration between the private sector and the public sector. Yes, we are focusing very much, and if you look at the many of initiatives that are undertaken by NMPC, one of those areas that we are looking into very seriously is on doing business, ease of doing business. The ease of doing business by the World Bank focusing very much on the process, starting a company and so on like that. So this back to the industry. Most industry want to work in Malaysia, want to operate in Malaysia with the environment that supported their businesses purposes. Of course, we look at the productivity. We do not want a high cost. We do not want, under GRP, we always said the, burden, the compliance cost that very high and so on. Whether we like it or not, this is one of the issues that it become a focal point to the industry. And then, I'm coming back to the role that government can play. Let me bring the story that we are, when Pemuda was there, the platform that Pemuda created is actually to bring the industry people to voice up the issue that they have with the governments, with the regulators. And I remember one experience that we do on the IPTS issue. There are many issues that related to IPTS that brought by Datuk Paramjit to the Pemuda. And about 20 over issue that was raised that they are not able to resolve with the MOE and land and so on. Bring to the Pemuda, and we actually solved the problem in one meeting. In one meeting, many of those problems, of those issues have been resolved. And in this situation, I would say that regulators is there to help you, provided they know what the issue and what are there for them. That they probably the thing that they can help you is bring the issue to the attention of them. That's one of the area that I think regulators can play, is that after listening to the issue and resolve it. back to the issue with the industry. The industry peoples are, you cannot become an issue of pointing finger alone. I look at it, the initiative that undertaken by the Canada Federation for Independent Business, CFIB. This is an organization that consists of all the SME and independence organization. You know what they do is in Canada, they are engaged with the government, even to the extent of not just raising or highlighting the issue to the government, municipality, agency, and so on, but they are also rating the organization, government organization, according to their performance by the independent, by them, not by government agency are taking part on the what do you call it, evaluation that undertaken by government themselves. But this one are taken over by somebody, third party outside there, that evaluated, participated, and giving an award to the company, to the organization, government organization, something like Wooden Spoon and things like that. And this kind of initiative actually prosper and make the industry, what do you call it, live in the environment that are acceptable, and then the public sector will also listen to you in the right way, not pointing fingers. So this is again, I coming back to the issue about support that the regulators need to do. Many of our regulation today are actually out of date. Sometimes the issue of overlapping, whether you like it or not, is an overlapping issue, the overlapping requirement. I remember that we do with the promoter issue also on the marquees. Marquees, when it was established 2012 with the Act, what happened is that everybody under the technical agency like DOA and many others, they introduce their own requirement. They have their own permit, they have their own licenses. When you have, to bring a chocolate in, you have to fulfill 6 licenses requirement from different agencies. Can you imagine the cost to the private sector is going to be high? The compliance cost is going to be up there. So when we work together with marquees, again, as I said, marquees and bring the technical agency, and FMM participated in the initiative, we are sitting down together, working together with these marquees and the technical agency, and we remove away about 3,400 licenses or permit requirement from the system. Imagine this, the requirement have been removed in terms of, like I said, chocolate permit requirement. Now is only, we leave to MOH to do that. The agency, the technical agency have decided not to pursue anymore and leave it to one agency. We still monitor, we still taking care of the what do you call it, the intention of regulation in terms of protection, safety, security, and so on. We still do that, but with the less people, with less agency, instead of many, we have one. So under COVID-19 today scenario, we can see that if we are waiting for normal circumstances, our mass will never be able to reach here on time. But because we need, and then some people actually remove the requirement, unnecessary requirement within the process, and that's why we can actually get the mask very fast from all over the world. So this is again, as I said, will government or regulators help the industry? Oh yes, very much at most. The help that they can render to the industry is tremendous, because again, as I said, the success of Malaysia is about creating the business environment that is actually supported the purpose of business, at the same time taking care of the welfare of the nations. Again, the idea of making money from the fees is not the issue now. The issue is about how can I support the industry to prosper, and we take a tax from there. The government, the company, the nation can make a prosperity through a prosper organization in Malaysia. And when you create this, I remember one incident. I was talking to me by Dato Jacob last time about this so-called initiative that Malaysia want to build the hospital that more than certain floor. In Malaysia at one time, they don't allow we to build a hospital to more than I think it's 12 floor. Again, when they go a benchmark study, they went to Hong Kong. And in Hong Kong, there's not an issue. You build any floor you like, as long as you are putting in the safety requirement. Of course, they have some SOP need to be fulfilled and so on. Again, when they bring this back to Malaysia, the finding in Hong Kong back to Malaysia, then share it with the municipality of that particular area, that the place that they want to build the hospital. Now they listen to it. Now they change the requirement. Now the SOP that regulatory requirement that Malaysia have can be changed. Again, that's why I said here, under our circumstances, that's why if you look at it in Hong Kong, people would like more to invest there because it's easy. You don't have. I went there one time looking on whether they have a manufacturing license requirement or not. They don't. They invited anybody come to Hong Kong and invest. They don't need this manufacturing licenses format and things like that. In Malaysia, we do have. We try to remove that, but we cannot. So again, I would say that it's a high time that the public sectors look into the requirement, unnecessary requirement. There are many that we can remove to support the industry. Whether we like it, the industry is there for us. All right, Cik Mus, I hope I cover a little bit on if you have further, maybe you can probe me further on that issue. Thank you, Cik Mus.
Okay, Cik Mus, I just want to add to what Encik Kabir just mentioned, like what you requested earlier. Encik Kabir mentioned a lot about the government itself, but I'm going to talk about from the industry standpoint. What the industry needs, yeah, to ensure business efficiency from the policymakers and also regulators. Okay, thank you for the question. And but before I proceed, first let's talk about the effect of government policies on the businesses. Yeah, governments establish many regulations and policies actually, and the purpose is to guide businesses. Yeah, some rules like minimum wage, number of days, maximum working hours, the public holidays to be strictly observed, and all these are mandatory. While other policies, be it in the federal level, state level, or even local councils or municipalities, they may influence businesses indirectly. Yeah. So businesses need to be flexible enough to respond to the changing rules and policies. That is a given. So this is not only true for the national or federal level, state level, local, but even the international regulation. Yeah. So I just give a case in point, the one that MPOB. MPOB works on the MSPO, Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Certification. This is following the international standard that got to be implemented in the local business. Yeah, the government can implement the policy that change the social behavior in the business environment. For example, the business, or rather the government, can subsidize the businesses that use renewable energy. Even like Dembang, I don't know what sort of incentive that was given, but that's one of the example. Yeah, the one that was mentioned earlier by Encik Kabir. The government can underwrite the development of new technology that will bring the necessary change also to the organization, and of course later on to the nation. Imposing a particular sector more taxes, for example, or duties that are necessary, that make. But all these things, if you put burden to the business, that will make sure that the investors will lose interest in that particular sector of the industry. We talk about the government, or the policymakers and the regulators for the regulations and permits. Yeah, trades regulations, the federal minimum wage, the requirement for permits or licenses. These are all items that have effect, that affect the business. Yeah. For new technology, for example, what government can do is to encourage in order to encourage the development of new technology. There are several ways. One of them is basically to have the protection of IP, government spending on the projects, reduction of tax, cooperative research. These are all the things that the government can do, or the policymakers and the regulators can do, because government has a variety of policy tools. It's in the hand of the government. To increase the rate of return for new technology and also encouraging in its development. So it's all in the hand, including direct government funding of R&D, tax incentive for R&D, protection, I mentioned earlier, protection of IP, forming cooperative relationships and stuff like that. So from the industry standpoint, it's not that it's not happening now, but what I'm saying is these are the one that industry appreciate all this, and more could be done. The industry, you think that more could be done on this one to ease but I'm not going to say this is as a burden, because industry can choose to use or not use this technology and all that, but this will motivate them further in upgrading the technology or embarking onto new technology, adopting I 4.0 and stuff like that. So that's my take on that one.
I think I would like to thank both panelists already pushing the importance of the synergy between the public and the private sector, particularly in driving the competitiveness of the nation. And this is in line with the current initiative that MPC is working on to co-creating strategies between the public and private sector in driving the Malaysia competitiveness. So I think the next question is that we got a question from the audience. We have this from Mr. Shukri Hadafi, who asks, as other countries are also reacting towards COVID-19, the impact of the pandemic, how can Malaysia be ahead of the other countries? Is there any unique actions required by us? So I open to maybe IR Haji Riwayat first, and then Cik Kabir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and thank you, Encik Shukri, for the question. The question is very relevant at the current situation. Yeah, during the COVID-19, even though we are in PKPP stage right now, we are getting out of the MCO, even though it's not fully out of the MCO. But first, take a look at what government has done in order to curtail, or rather, in order to limit and in order to contain the COVID-19 impact. Yeah. Of course, the actions taken or the strategies used by the government is basically first to contain the problem, and it can be at the expense of the economy of the nation. Yeah. But the thing is that to contain that problem of COVID-19 is much more important 2 months, 3 months ago. We started that back in 18th of March to put the MCO, and then we have EMCO, the CMCO, and the whatnot. And then we start relieving and also easing on the MCO and all that. I think that part of it has done, Malaysia has done well, even though economy, we take the painful hit in the economy, but that has been done well by the government. And so going forward, how to make it better? I think this at the current moment competition to see who's better, COVID-19 actions and plans and stuff like that. I think maybe that this is not the time. However, the interest of the nation, the rakyat, on how can they make a living going forward in this short timing. I think government has done well by start limiting and constraining and having this mitigating measures to curb COVID. That has been done very well. Not many countries are as lucky or as fortunate as Malaysia to be in the current situation. You can see in so many other countries. But going forward, there are so many other government incentives that has been put forth to the industry that should be exploited by the industry, by the businesses, to make sure that this effect or the impact of COVID-19 won't be as severe as the other countries. You can see in US, for example, US is a big country. I'm not going to talk bad about US, but they are not in a good state today, as you can see in the news and read. So are we ahead already? Maybe not number one, or probably not number two, but we are in the forefront. Whatever the government is doing today, I think is good, and how can they do differently is more on how the implementation. I think you can come up with the policies and plans and strategies and whatnot, but implementation must be done correctly. So I would, if you were to ask me what should be done differently, focus on the implementation, how the pelaksanaan is done. I think that is the unique thing that they can do, because a lot of other countries, they come up with the plans as well, but we can see how they crumble because the implementation is not correct. So to answer your question, it's a bit long-winded, but what I'm going to say is, if you were to do things differently, focus on the implementation to make the implementation immaculate. We must make sure that we don't fall in the cracks and stuff like that. So the thing I recommend, or my own personal opinion, is on the implementation. It must be done correctly. Thank you, Shukri, and moderator.
Okay. Let me give my point of view on this issue, Tuan Muzaffar. Thank you, Cik Shukri, for the question. As for me, if we have to understand one thing, that the post-COVID scenario, or even during the COVID-19 scenario, maybe we don't see it very much. During the current COVID-19 scenario domestically, we can see some surge of demand in certain sector. We can also can be very sure that now many countries in the world are still under MCOs. Malaysia is already beyond that now. We are actually opening our factory, and whether you like it or not, there will be a lot of demand coming in, a surge of demand on the product, on the production that we need to produce, going to be very high now, because not many countries actually are operating efficiently at the moment, because they are closing down and things like that. Malaysia now opening up again and more. I think by today, almost all industry have been opened up. So with a surge of demand coming in from the industry, now I'm not talking about just about domestic. In the domestic, you can see that the people like Grab Foods, people that operating in the delivery business are like nobody business. This is the time for them. They make more money here during this time. Now during the post, as demand coming in from outside of the world, we have to change. We need to produce more items quickly grabbing the time now, grabbing the opportunity now. How that government can help them. Again, as I said, I'm going back to the issue that this is a time that we need to let go some of the requirement. We need to create and support the industry in a way for them to do a business faster. Maybe certain requirements, certain necessary requirement by the regulators. Maybe we can silence it at the moment, because I'm not saying that we should be doing that at a bigger scale, but sometimes we need to look at it and see how we can actually help. This is the time helping the private sector, helping the manufacturing company in Malaysia. How can we simplify the process for them to export the item, to export the product to the demand that coming out from outside? Whether the demand is actually will be on our shore, there's another question that I cannot answer at the moment, because my gut feeling telling me during the post COVID-19 time for Malaysia, there will be a lot of demand coming in from outside there, and we need to be prepared. And this is probably a time that the industry themselves, have to wake up, and you cannot rely on the incentive by the government all the time, because otherwise we are not going anywhere, because we keep on hoping for the government to fund the incentive. But this is the time actually for us, for company in Malaysia to start looking into to diversify, or maybe to grab the opportunity now. And probably here again, as I said, the bank moratorium initiative that can help the industry very much. Maybe this is the time, the opportunity for them to go back to to where they are before, or maybe getting more than better than what they are before. I think, believe me, because outside there in the world are still having the problem. But for Malaysia, thank goodness, Alhamdulillah, we are there. We are actually, maybe I'm not going to clap my hand yet, but I think we are already beyond the situation that, or the bad situation that we cannot operate properly. But now, maybe we can do that, or what they call it, grab the opportunity and be a better. I'm not so focused very much on being ahead than other countries in the world, but we can actually provide at least support to them in terms of production, providing the items, the requirement that requested by them. I think that is my point of view. So for me, is post-COVID is not bleak, but is actually very bright for us at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to our panelists. I think that's answered the question, and as what rightly pointed out by Mr. Kabe and also Haji Riwayat, technically in Malaysia we have a very unique value proposition that we can offer to the world, and I think we've seen announcement made by leading multinational companies such as Keysight, Bosch. They are opening up their testing facilities in Penang. So this is something that to show that we have the competent engineers to carry out the testing abilities, and then testing facilities, and also to ensure that we can become the hub for all the advanced technology industries. So this is something that we need to work on, especially in terms of the policies and also the regulatory framework, so that we can facilitate the international needs in getting more investment coming to Malaysia, so that it can push Malaysia to become a very competitive nation and a very high productive workforce. So with that, I think we will proceed to the next questions that I would like to get views from the insight from the panelists. That will be how the World Competitiveness Yearbook can be used as the benchmark to improve business efficiencies by industries, and then how it can be done effectively to ensure that the effectiveness of the criteria by the, especially the, as what Cik Kabir mentioned earlier, part of the response is from the executive opinion survey, the I think the qualitative data. So we need to give a better understanding among the executive when they give their opinions about Malaysia. They need to really look through all the initiatives done by the government, and then because their response will have impact to the ranking of the country. So a lot of this report has been used by businesses or by industry leaders to search for the ideal location for investment. So that is very important for Malaysians, so that we know the views that we put into the survey, we have a bearing to our competitiveness in terms of position our country in the favorable terms with investors. So with that, I would like to get Cik Kabir views, and then Raja Ruwayat can continue after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamus. It's in line with what's actually happening today. And if you go to shopping complex now, probably even go to malls now, somebody have to measure your temperature, and before they allow you to go into the shopping complex. This measurement that they take actually to assess you having a fever, or chances that you probably have a COVID-19 may be less if you don't have a fever. So that measurement is actually good to at least eradicate or eliminate those potential people who have the disease going into the and mingle around with the other people in the shopping complex. So this measurement is useful. So coming back to WCY measurement, whether they're going to be useful for in our effort to raise the business efficiency. Oh yes, not just about WCY, because in tandem with the WCY, what they call it, ranking, we do have the ease of doing business ranking. We do have WEF ranking, and all this ranking are actually looking into certain specific area. And I would like to raise about the ease of doing business. The ease of doing business, the one that Pemuda actually monitoring, is actually about the process efficiency within the government in providing services. So coming back to business efficiency, again, as I said, for private sector to be efficient, government need to be efficient also. So if you look at the efficiency in the term of as a measurement, we can see very clear. I think I see the productivity aspect not there for us at the moment, because maybe I'm not pointing the finger yet, but I think maybe our reliance very much on the foreign workers. Maybe it's a high time for us to look on the investment, because if you look at I look around on the HRDF fund utilization. After you are actually paying a levy to HRDF, the most at the moment utilization funds is about 80%. In 2018 is about 76%. So not 100%. Maybe it should be more of utilization of the funds. Therefore, training, because with training, developing the skill, raising up the ability of performing the work, is need to be done by the industry. If you can see also, the economic factor are doing very well. So what it means is that we actually doing a good business. The company in Malaysia actually doing a good business. The factors for economy is there. We sell product, but in terms of creating the sustaining environment to support the future, businesses, that's where we should be looking into. And I would strongly suggest that probably the industry need to relook on themselves on this aspect. And if you look at the management practices, back in the early days, as I said, 2010, our rank is on the management practices number 2. That means we are adopting the initiative, either the business excellence initiative that we MPC are promoting is there, or transformation initiative within the industry is there. So now the scenario, I would say that also opening up another door for organization to adopt the industry 4.0. We know, I mean, I agree with Cik Riwayat earlier on that mentioned that for company to adopt the industry 4.0 is not about adopting stock and barrel everything from A to Z. I asked the professor in German about when we do the formulation of policy visit, when we go to German to understudy before Malaysia coming out with the policy of industry 4.0. I asked the guy there, and I mean the professor there, what is actually a definition of industry 4.0? And he gave me Kabir, the industry have a business need. The business need is about IoTs. So if we are actually utilizing IoTs to fulfill the business need of that particular companies, then that is our industry 4.0. We don't need to have virtual reality 3D printing to be put into the factory. So that also good. The indicators of the WCY will tell us some weaknesses that we need to adjust. And I strongly believe that whether we like it or not, what the MPC have been doing, we are actually doing things right. Because maybe we should be adding more as something that we need to monitor. Because again, of course, I believe other organizations also monitor this, like corruptions, governance, ranking, that actually important in ranking. Because for industry, for the as Musa mentioned earlier, they were looking for the investor, they were looking for the location to invest. The company, they look at many, and one of them, of course, the corruption levels in the country. So if we do have a high corruption level in the country, we are not going to be one of the country that are actually targeted by this investor. And whether you like it or not, and from many studies that shown, the quality of regulation are actually parallel or directly linked with the corruptions. So if we have a process that easy for everybody to go and do and perform, and there's no need for us to corrupt or give anybody a payment, because everything done easily in Malaysia. So that's a reason, again, as I said, the temperature, the measurement of the ranking, whether it's WCY, WEF, ease of doing business or others, this will be a very good measure, and it must be monitored. It must be monitored, because I believe that if I'm telling one public, regulators something about what they are not doing well, then probably they're not listening, because we are from Malaysia. But if we got it from people from outside to tell us that no, we are not doing well, something here and there, and we're good. And I strongly suggest also, because of this initiative also, not just about this well-known initiative, maybe we should have followed the CFIB methodology of organizing assessment on regulators' performance within the country, so that like SME association can do this, can undertake this, so that it's not for purpose to criticize the public sectors or criticize anybody for that matter, but it's actually to point out what we can help to support the businesses. So yes, the indicators, the ranking is very useful to me to support our journey in terms of improving business efficiency. Thank you.
My turn. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the question again, and I think Cik Kabir has mentioned, giving us the insightful information as far as the government or public sector is concerned. Again, I'm going to talk from the industry standpoint. Okay, let's take a look at business. Well, competitiveness is a big thing. Yeah, there's so many factors that's being measured and all that. But let's dive down a bit to the business efficiency, since our topic is more on the business efficiency. But business efficiency itself is a broad spectrum. It's a broad spectrum, and if we just talk about the productivity and efficiency, then I would say that the industry would feel that this is what do you call important, and it is a correct measure going forward. But the one that WCY is doing, the IMD measurement is done, it's a broad spectrum, and is very right to do that, because you cannot look at one single hard data alone. You got to look in a wide spectrum. So but coming from the industry, I've been in the industry for quite some time, for many years, and the competitiveness report such as the WCY or the global competitiveness report by the WEF, talking about the ease of doing business, and even let's talk about closer to home, the annual productivity report that is being published by MPC. They are great. These are all great. To me, coming into the picture now, looking at all this, they are all great. I have to echo and I have to agree with what Encik Kabir have said. But the industry as a whole, I don't think, the business as a whole, I don't think they regard this, is important or something for them to focus on. They treat this, they meaning probably some of them that have the same thinking as I had when I was in the industry, that these are all government affairs. Yeah, unless there exists direct engagement between the government and the industry, they consider that the scoring, the ranking, and all that it got to be a government effort. Even though, which is right, not fully true, that is all government effort. Industry have to do their part, but this is considered as is this the government effort that has to do all this, and the government has done a great job about this. Yeah, so to the business, profit is the priority. Without profit, they can say that this and that and all that, but at the end of the day, if the company is not making profit, the company doesn't exist. It's out of the businessman. So that's the reason why they are in business, the profit. Many other things like competitiveness report, it can be probably a second in their list or third in their list, or it doesn't appear in the list at all. Okay, if their participations from the industry is more for their purpose, something that they can gain from, or something that it can benefit them. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that all enterprises are like that, but I think for the most part, you can feel that as well. But how could we change that? So the environment, the awareness need to be made. This industry need to be made aware. Create a broad industry awareness. How can we do that? Probably engage. Has been done, but maybe should be done more. Engage and collaborate with the trade associations when they have bulletins and all that, to include the salient point of the report, in the association bulletin and all that. The industry is not going to be very interested looking at the report. I'm just going to give a case in point, talking about the GCR report by WEF 2019. How many pages were they? There were 666 pages, and they are not short of. They cannot be less than 400 pages or 300 pages and all that. And industry doesn't have time doesn't have time is not the right word, but they are not interested to read all this. But if you make it in concise, and very direct, salient point, and give it to the industry, maybe the business would be more interested. Use social media to broadcast, launching a productivity report like what's put in the MPC website. I think that's one of the good way to broadcast about the report itself. But then again, how many people went into the MPC website? So engage the industry to provide recommendations, solution to all this poor competitiveness. Incentivize them. Of course, those who support the nations for the nation's competitiveness improvement. These are all good. To me, is this good? Is this relevant? Is this something that we need to continue and focus on? Definitely, because we want to stay productive. We want to stay competitive in globally. So this is something that is very good. But I think the participation of the industry or the businesses, I think that that is yet to be gain further. So that's my take on that one, Chimos.
Thank you to both panelists for their insights on the questions put forward earlier. So I think as what Riwayat said, I think this is where we would like the stakeholders to look into our unified public consultations. This is where they can give their views, especially in terms of the government policies and regulatory or regulations that are being reviewed, or any new proposal by the government in order to see whether the importance of having the regulatory framework for certain industries. So we have a few more questions from the audience. I think maybe one question direct to Mr. Kabir, which regards to the Malaysian industries depend more on foreign workers. How about the hiring of foreign workers higher than local? Is Singapore a pull factor of our human capital? This is a question where I would like Mr. Kabir to respond to. And for IR Riwayat, I would like you to respond to the question from the earlier question from Mr. Chinia CR Selva. And then the second question put forward to IR Riwayat is on the company registration process, especially for startup is still having administrative issues. What is your comment on that? And then what is your comment on the available of big data resources in Malaysia? So both of these questions is for IR Riwayat. This question from Mr. Maklan Ali, based in Kuching, Sarawak. So I think I get IR Riwayat to respond first, and then Cik Kabir on the question about the foreign workers. Is Singapore a pull factor of our human capital, right?
Okay, thank you for the question, Mr. Moderator, and the person who asked the question. I can see over here, it says that company registration process, especially for startups, is still having administrative issues. Any comment? I'm not very sure which particular part of the process that is having problem. The way I read here is more of the company registration. But if you're talking about company registration for the startup, let's take a look at three type of companies that you can form. One is the enterprise. The enterprise, to me, I think is very easy to set up. A lot of these are online, and or you can go to the SSM office. It depends where you are in Malaysia. They have SSM office. You can go there, and the process is very fast for you to get the registration. If you're talking about the registration alone, the way I read it is company registration process. And you're talking about LLP or the limited liability partnership or the PLT. So this is also can be done online. It can be done easily, And so for these two, I know for sure that the registration, excuse me, pardon my English, the registration process is not complex. It can be done quite easily. But for Sendirian Berhad, this one, typically you need to engage with the company secretary. This is talking about ease of doing business, yeah. Okay. So you got to engage the company secretary, and there are various documentation procedures and all that you need to have. So you can engage with the company secretaries to assist you. And when I did my Sendirian Berhad company, but this was many years ago, and I did not face any issue with the company registration, unless you're talking about foreign company. Maybe there are further requirements for foreign companies that I'm not aware of. It could be. But as far as company registration is concerned, for a Malaysian individuals or groups or teams to have a startup, I don't think I've heard of any issues over here. Yeah. So that's my comment on that one. Unless maybe you can elaborate further on your question as far as the company registration process, maybe I could take a look at it. I'm not conversant in this. I've done a few registration only for the company, but based on the experience I have, I probably can answer you on that one. Yeah. Okay. For the big data resources in Malaysia. This is not something that has been a long time in Malaysia, having engaging into big data. But I know the curriculums and the what do you call the universities in Malaysia has offered all this. So maybe they are not they are not very huge resources available, but you can still find people with this big data. I know a few individuals who has graduated, and they have this big data as part of their major. So they are available, but not in a very huge quantity. There's something not very what do you call has been very long in Malaysia, and but the universities, the schools, and institutions are having this now. So you can Google this and talk to universities, and maybe put an ad for the people to get attracted to the organization that you're trying to register. That's my answer. My limited knowledge answer on your question for both questions.
All right. Thank you for the question, Mr. Chinia, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very tough question actually, because there's two different scenarios in Singapore and then in Malaysia that I try to raise. It doesn't mean that when Singapore relying very much on the foreign workers, that's why make them good. There is other reason also. It's not foreign workers, and actually for the technical ability, the requirement, things like that. Of course, we are Malaysian. That can also tell us that many people that work in Singapore is actually Malaysian. So we are good. We are actually good. So we can become a better people. Again, now coming back to the question related to Malaysia, the reason why I pinpoint the issue related to over-reliance on the foreign workers. I mean, believe me, when I was graduating those days in University Putra as an engineer there, we were at that time looking into the farm mechanizations. How to mechanize the farms, because you want a Malaysian farm to produce many things that you need to mechanize. And those days, we pinpoint also the reason why we need to mechanize is because of the over-reliance on these workers that you know, the people are migrating to different type of industry. But now during that time, so mechanization is very important, so that we don't rely on the, you know, the migrations of workers or people expertise to the bandar. Now, instead of you know working on it, we actually now go and outsource it and bring the foreigners to Malaysia. So now, if you, after the YB minister make an announcement about it, and everybody in the plantation industry make a noise that, oh, come on, give them an exception, because they rely on those foreign workers in their sector. So everybody will start talking, their sector need to be rely on the foreign workers. Not to say that we shouldn't, we should limit. The reason why is going back to the capacity building of the employee that we have. Naturally, if we look at a Malaysian that is actually working for you, and you probably invested on the training and raising their ability, the benefit will go to the nations. It's not go to the foreigners. The foreigners will be here for 2 years, as an example. I'm not against the foreigners, but I'm saying that the attention should be given more to the people that from Malaysia, that if we can raise their ability through training or whatever it is, and then we can actually develop Malaysia further, because these people are not going anywhere. And there's another interesting part that I saw that work in German. We have many internship program by university, you know, through the factory, blah blah. They go do the internship, blah blah, and then coming back to the organization, and they go anywhere. They go from, you know, they may not be going back and utilize the knowledge that they gain from the internship. But in German, when you want to do the internship, you're going to park yourself with the company, let's say with the certain whatever company that is there. You are going to be trained, you are going to work with them. They link with the requirement, with they give the platform that these people are going to be parked there, going to work for them during the internship, and they smoothly join the company after they graduating. Imagine, this is why, because the knowledge that they acquire during the internship are going to be used for that company to train your people so that they can become a good officer, the good employees, and for that particular company, for the sake of the company. And mostly we don't do this with the foreign workers. Foreign workers are only for a short term. It's only for something that we are, you know, probably cheaper versions of you know, operating costs. And this I would say, I would support maybe in Singapore, the people who work there and those who rise through the management. If we take one association now, the previous years, you know, they probably have productivity organization that like NPC, but now they have, you know, individual organization like SPA, individual focusing on the sector or retail, whatever. They know their business, they know their requirement, and because of they know their requirement, so the need to be trained their people is there. So I would suggest that, like, thing like what Malaysia do on Nexus to be widened, I mean, to expand it further, so that we can train our people. We can look at the area that we are not good, and we don't need the foreign workers. We need to train our people here. So I'm not saying completely remove foreign worker from Malaysia, but over reliance on it may not be a good answer. Okay, that's my answer for the first question. But I'm going to chip in also into what in terms of business regulation, business, you know, how that organization in Malaysia or public sector accommodate in terms of registration of the company. I seen this happen in you know, if you want to open what do you call it, you are an investor, you're coming to Malaysia, you got to meet many people. You got to meet MIDA, you got to meet this, you got to meet this requirement, blah, blah, blah. And at different time, you got to go and visit it. That may be a very taxing and maybe not something that we are actually support. In Thailand, don't go very far. In Thailand, they have one center called OSOS. One stop, I think one solution. OSOS is one stop, one solution. For any investor want to invest in the country, instead of the investor go and hunting the agency, they bring all the agency into the meeting. They have the location have full meeting room, big meeting rooms, and they organize the meeting there between investor and all the agency that in that particular area of business, fulfilling, supporting, providing answer, providing immediate answer there, and then instead of taking so much time or moving around, this will help this particular investor to invest and start a business in Malaysia quickly. So I don't know. I don't want to comment it very much in terms of in Malaysia, are we actually taking a very long time? May not be, but the process will take a little bit, the fulfill requirement, the licenses that require, you want to open a restaurant, you have many requirement in terms of like beer licenses, this licenses, that licenses, and many licenses. So imagine if you want to search for it, and it may take some time. But if we have a mechanism that we can bring these people together, sit down and reveal it and resolve the problem there and there, I think it will be saving a lot of time. Just share what I hear, what I see, that practices by others in the other country. So most, I think that's about it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kabe. I think we already passed our time that we are scheduled till 12:30. We already under 1 minute more minutes to 1 o'clock. So I would like to give the panelists their last parting words. Although we have some more questions from the audience, but I think we will send the answers through written answers later. We have questions from Burhanuddin Haji Saidin and also from Dr. Suryati Zainabudin. The question is from Burhanuddin Haji Saidin is on the barriers in achieving efficiency, miscommunication and conflicts between people in the organization. Can you suggest to overcome these barriers to overcome this? I think IR Haji Roy already mentioned in his slide. And then we have this from Dr. Suryati, especially as IR Haji Roy in terms of the lever to push business efficiency. What is the recommended levers to push the SMEs to increase their business efficiency? So these are the questions that we are going to give written answers from the panelists. I hope the panelists can get them maybe by end of this week. Just to conclude our webinar session, I would like to give our panelists the opportunity to wrap up their thoughts for this webinars. I think this is the beginning of the series of webinars. We're going to focus on the factors, sub-factors, and maybe on the criteria of the competitiveness report, the World Competitiveness Yearbook Report 2020. So we are going to deep dive in terms of the understand better what are the issues, what are the situations on the ground, and how best we can address that so that we can position in the future. So with that, I would like to start with IR Haji Royat. Maybe you can give your thoughts on this, Haji, please. After that, Cik Kabe.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator, Cik Muhammad Muzaffar. And also, I just want to say again, thank you to MPC leadership that has, given me the opportunity to be one of the panelists in this webinar, the comparative talk. What I want to sum up for this webinar is, I just want to iterate that business efficiency in the competitiveness is very critical. This is only one of the pillars. Yeah, there are a few more, but since we are talking about the business efficiency, this is very critical. And the competitiveness elements, the one that we have, the elements, the list, I think it's like for business efficiency alone is 78, but I can't remember the rest of them. This will definitely be important for the industry or the business to participate as well. We need to move as a nation, be it the government, be it the business, both got to work hand in hand to make sure that the competitiveness of the nation is improving. This is for the betterment of the businesses, and also both for the, you know, this is for the nation. When we say the nation, is both the government and also the businesses. So I'm glad that I'm part of this what do you call webinar, and like Mr. Moderator mentioned, going forward with other topics relevant to this competitiveness. So I'm glad to be part of the team. So thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, first of all, thank you to Cik Muzaffar for the invitation to be part of the team, and also to the MBC management teams, and of course for the audience to be here listening to what we are about to share early on. My take up for this is basically, if you look about the business efficiency aspect, you cannot run away with the private sectors or the industry need to look at themselves, look on the inside, look at what the way they perform, the way that deliver, the way that factors that will be sustained in the future, that for them to, especially like in the current way of working, you cannot run away from the technology. The technology is there. So how are we going to invest, or how are we going to adopt the technology that's going to support us? Whether we like it or not, we cannot running in the same spot as what we do before. This is the new norm. The new norm is about adopting these so-called technologies available. So many agencies in the public sector are there to support you on this particular area. Coming back to another aspect for the private sector that need to do, I would just want to give one message, like help governments to help yourself. Because if you don't help the government to help yourself, then as what Muzaffar mentioned earlier on, we have the UPC, Unified Public Consultations platforms. It's a platform where you can raise, or you can share, you can, whatever you can bring to the attention of the authority. So this is crucial. So I would suggest that utilize it. You want to raise the efficiency of your organization. The business organization need to raise, and government need to support you. And both are if playing the right role, you can see the result of the ranking in 2010. So is there already to that we can achieve that with the collaboration or synergy between these two parties. And again, I'm going to repeat this: help government to help yourself. Thank you.
Thank you to our distinguished panelists, Mr. Kabir and also Ira Jiroya. We thank a lot for your insights. I think it's beneficial for all the audience and for the Malaysian businesses. And I believe this will be, you can also get this link later on from our productivity channels that we are working on. So we're going to give you a lot of inputs on how to grow your business, how to do it well. And then with that, ladies and gentlemen, keep continuing your support to our competitiveness webinar. we are going to have many series until the end of the year, and then it's going to have very many more distinguished panelists such as Mr. Kabir and Hajrat. We thank you so much, our panelists, speakers, and hopefully we can meet again in the future. So have a good day, and thank you very much. Until next time. Assalamualaikum. Have a very good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamus. Assalamualaikum.